Hey there folks, Wrel here. Today we'll be talking about the act of spotting targets in PlanetSide 2. This is going to be a pretty quick video, but hopefully we'll be able to point out some things that even some veterans may not be aware of while using this mechanic. When you have your crosshair over an enemy, you can press the Q key by default, and that's going to spot your target and put a triangle above their head. As a side note, you can also press and hold the Q key while looking at an ally to bring up the command rows, and if you're a squad leader looking at objectives, you can ping those objectives for all of your squad mates and post it to their HUD. But neither of those features really need to be talked about in this video, so while there is a triangle above your enemy's head, they and their facing direction will show up on the minimap until that triangle goes away. In addition, all allies within 100 meters of your position will have the enemy's location reported on their minimaps as well. This is one of the reasons why spotting targets is so powerful. A spotting triangle is also known as a Dorito, and it lasts for 10 seconds, or until the target is called out again, in which case it'll reset the duration. If a target enters a vehicle or cloaks, in both cases the triangle is going to be wiped. Triangles above your enemy heads can be seen through smoke, as well as through thermal and night vision scopes beyond the scope's blackout range. Spotting a target may also be done by dealing damage to the target while you have the marker implant equipped, and it'll actually work with the engineer's SPITFIRE auto turret as well. Spotting a target with the marker implant acts as if you were spotting the target with the Q key, except that you won't do a verbal call out. Speaking of which, when you spot a target, you will also call that target out. Enemies can hear this call out, so when you spot a target, it may also give away your position. If you've spotted a target that is then killed by an ally, you will gain some experience for having spotted them. This mechanic is a bit hit or miss with when it actually gives you experience, and it may have something to do with people overriding your spot on a target, but it's still helpful for experience gain and even has its own ribbon associated with it. You can also spot tank mines, C4, proximity mines, deployables, turrets, and vehicles as well, though their icons will all be different. It's also worth noting that vehicles will auto-spot themselves on the minimap and on your screen at about 230 meters, unless they're running the stealth defensive slot or are a deployed sunderer, in which case they'll only auto-spot themselves within 15 meters. Now here's some fun stuff that you may not have been aware of. The first is that you can press your spotting key up to 6 times without actually having your crosshair over a target. If you do not successfully spot a target during this time, you will not be able to spot targets again for about 5 seconds. Basically, you'll get locked out, and that lockout seems to be a little bit more strict if you were previously locked out, not by much though. Provided you are not locked out of the mechanic, a successful spot seems to reset the number of attempts you get, so you could basically Q-spot the same target infinitely and never ever get locked out, and each time it would also reset the spot duration to that same 10 seconds. This is important to know because you can actually spot targets through walls, terrain, buildings, all sorts of stuff. Not everything, but a lot of things.
Enemy light assault in the area.
So just to make sure you heard that, even if you do not see your target, you can still spot them for you and your team. Sounds a bit abusive, and for all intents and purposes it may be, but this is a very lenient mechanic, and it always has been, even more so in the past. I remember the topic being brought up a couple years ago, and the devs basically said that they can't get it to work perfectly, and it's more important to them that the player is able to successfully spot targets that it looks like they should be able to spot, then have the mechanic fail when it's not supposed to, and just confuse the player. So how this can help you in-game is done in a number of different ways. If you know where enemies are likely to be, you essentially have 5 or 6 chances to get a proper spot on them. Because of this, you can look at various areas and buildings you're approaching and see if you can pick anyone out. Or if you hear some gunfire or an enemy call out, or see a dot pop up on your minimap, you can make a pretty good estimation of where that player may be. Then you just face that direction and try to get your crosshair over them. Once you know where your enemy is and they're marked on the minimap, you have a massive advantage. And since this works for explosives as well, you should make an effort to spot out proximity mines in common locations, like next to doorways or at the tops of stairs, as well as make spotting attempts on the road when you're in a vehicle. That way you can pick up anti-tank mines before you actually roll over them. Spotting targets is also helpful for figuring out who is your ally and who is not. For For whatever reason, allied Doritos oftentimes do not render until you're fairly close, which when you're in a flying vehicle can lead to a lot of friendly fire. So if you try spotting that target and then the triangle does not appear above their head, you'll know that they're probably a friendly player. Long story short is that use the Q key as often as possible for experience, awareness, and target recognition. Your team will thank you for it, and you'll probably die less too. If this video has been interesting, helpful, or entertaining, please feel free to like, subscribe, tell your friends about the channel, and if you have any other spotting tips you'd like to share, go ahead and leave those in the comment section down below. Thanks very much, folks. Wrel signing off.